Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon or good morning, wherever you may be, and welcome to the IDEN Commerce 365 webinar. It's great to see a lot of registrations again. Just goes to show that a versatile and reliable e-commerce integration with Business Central is an incredibly relevant topic at the moment. Great to see you've all freed up your time to be able to join. I'm Nicholas Lambrix, and with me in this session is my colleague Thijs van den Heuvel. Thijs will be covering all product features in a bit, but I'll give you a brief introduction first. We'll be looking at the latest version of Commerce 365 for Magento in a moment. This is, of course, also the version which can be downloaded from the app source, and you can test it straight away if you'd like. You would receive a trial key, a product key via automatic email, so easy to get started. We'll be looking at the Business Central version, but for whoever still faces commerce requests from customers with nav installations, obviously there is always the nav commerce solution as well. It's been around for years, and it will remain available for all systems from nav 2015 and up. Now, this extension, Commerce 365, allows users to publish their products online via Business Central. They can enrich product data and specifications. There's a built-in PIM system. The current stock can be displayed as well in real time on the front end. And the product is perfectly capable of dealing with customer-specific pricing and discounts, if desired, through the B2B module, which is available separately. Thijs will be telling you all about it, but let me just let you know that during the webinar, on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll be able to ask your questions. On the background here, we'll be collecting these questions, and we'll see which we can answer straight away at the end of Thijs's part. But all questions will be answered either way within 48 hours via email. At the end of the webinar, I'll be back with some questions that were asked. I'll give you a bit of information about our support, and of course, we'll be going through some prices. For now, Thijs, you're up.
Thank you, Nicholas. And let's start with a little introduction on what we're going to look at today. In front of me here is a clean Business Central 17 installation, and it is a local container here, but this could have been any SaaS or on-prem environment. And within this environment, I've installed both the Commerce 365 for Magento extension, and it's actually the exact same version as you can pick up right now by going on App Source yourself. Search for Commerce 365. Click on the free trial button, and within minutes you should have the exact same software. And on top of that core module, as we call it, I've also installed the B2B module for that very same extension. Just as we had it organized with Nav Commerce, the NAV solution, again, we divided things up into separate modules. If you just have to run a B2C store, you're fine by just installing the core module. But if you have to run a B2B store or a combination of both, just install the B2B module. This one has a dependency on the other one, so you only have to install this one in that case. And in the background, both will be installed in one go. What I also did in order to prepare for this webinar is to install a clean Magento environment. Or by now it's almost clean. I did do a few things. This is actually the backend we're looking at, and we won't be doing this too often because that's the whole purpose of the extension we're looking at, is to manage all this directly from within Business Central. But as I said, I did a couple of things. So over here, I defined a couple of websites and stores. Magento has a very nice mechanism which allows you to run multiple stores from out of one instance, and we do want to see some of that in our webinar. And the other thing we have to do in a while, we'll get back here, is to pick up a so-called integration access token, which is what you need to authorize other systems to connect with your Magento. What I also thought would be nice to show you here in the webinar is how easy it is to create your own Magento. By now, we probably all have an Azure account. So just go here, just go on portal.azure.com, click create a resource, search for Bitnami Magento. And then what you'll find is a predefined image, this one here, predefined image of a virtual machine, which really just has everything in it to spin up a Magento. So really create, fill in a couple of details, next, finish, hit create, and within 5 to 10 minutes, you have a completely working Magento, which you can already use right away to connect to your Business Central as well. If you need any help with this, just let us know. Happy to jump onto a team session with you to go over some of these steps and just to get you started. For now, we don't need this anymore because we already have one running up here. We also don't need these anymore. So now that we're cleaning up tabs, also good to take a quick look at this one, our online manual. It has a lot of background information like this over here. How does the integration work? It has a detailed application manual on every section within the extension, but it also has a checklist. What do I have to do to get my system set up? How do I test some data? Until this one up here, how do I get a first sales order flowing from Magento back into Business Central? Super easy, just click on the help button within the extension and you'll be taken to this thing right away. So let's go back to Business Central to get our extensions properly configured. And we do that by first selecting a new role. Here's a role called e-commerce manager. That one got installed as soon as you installed the Commerce 365 extension. And as soon as we get onto the e-commerce manager dashboard here, the application will tell you, okay, we're installed, but we're not set up yet. And with just clicking this link, we can start the installation wizard. For now, because I'm in a local container, I'm going to click no here, but feel free to fill in any way you like. And the first thing the wizard will ask is a app ID and secret. And you should have received an email once or while you installed the software. And the email looks like this. It's a Commerce 365 trial key, which consists of an app ID and secret. So that's what you do. You fill in the app ID and secret, hit tab, and the system will tell you, okay, that's a correct combination. The connection with the Azure platform behind all this is available. So next is another set of keys, but then for your Magento. And that's that thing which we were looking at earlier. We did create that integration already before. So now we just open the existing integration. And what we need is this one here, the access token. Let's go back here, fill in access token. And we need to provide a REST API URL, which usually looks like this. Again, hit tab and the system will tell you, okay, this is a valid combination. So we're ready to move on. Click next. And that was it already, actually. It will tell you, okay, both connections are available, ready to import some master data. And what we call master data in this case is everything that usually gets started within Magento. So in Business Central, we don't create new websites. We don't work on the layout of your websites and stores. That usually is something that first gets created on the Magento side. You then pull it into Business Central in order to work with it or to publish items on those web stores. And there's some more of that data that comes from Magento back into Business Central. And if we hit finish here, the wizard will, I don't know if you guys can follow, but yeah, of course, it says store views, it says tax classes, it says customer groups. All these things which are in your Magento system already will now be imported and ready for use here within Business Central. So if we now go up here to master data, we will see we have 3 websites defined in our Magento. They got pulled into BC here. We have 6 store views defined, again imported, and the same thing for tax classes and customer groups. They need a tiny bit of work later on to get everything properly connected to your Business Central, but let's look at that later. And next to these, same thing goes for shipment methods. Just click on Update Shipment Methods, and the system will import all the methods which have been defined on the Magento side. So this, again, is something, usually a shipping methods extension, depending on which carrier or which provider you're working with, but all of them have a Magento module. Install that module and then click on Update Shipment Methods. What's still left to do is to set up your mappings. In this case, you do, of course, have to tell the system, okay, these DHL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's actually this shipping agent and that service level, and transport costs go on to that GL account. We'll leave that for now. Same goes for payment methods. Click on the Update Payment Method button. Payment methods which have been configured will be imported. So just as with the shipment methods, anytime you install something new or if you switch to another payment provider, just configure what has to be configured on the Magento side and then click Update Payment Methods to get your new methods or new codes into Business Central so that you can continue working. And that was it in terms of setup and configuration. As you've just seen, it really just takes a couple of minutes. Just install the extension, take those 2 or 3 steps through the wizard. Data will be imported and systems are connected, and yeah, you should be good to move on and start to publish some content on your web stores. And in order to show you some of that, I want to switch to a other system here because I have one which has more data in it. So let's log on to this one and let's switch to another Magento as well. We won't be needing this anymore. Yeah, just this one. This is actually the Magento front end of my other demo store, and this one has some more data than the clean one which we just closed. So let's just go here and open up a first category. And as you can see, really just looks like a web store, has a couple of products in it. It has some filters here on the left. Just give me all the metal lamps or anything else. If we go to the product detail page, we'll see that it has some more information. It has a short description. It has a longer description. It has a tab of attributes, all kinds of useful information for me as a user to be able to select the right product, but also the system, of course, can use all these attributes, as you've just seen on the other page, to present users with filters and sorting orders and everything needed or everything necessary to make your web shop work for your customers. It has related products, so we can see if we can sell some bulbs together with these lamps, or we can try to upsell. And for that, we have another list here with another product in it. So we could already start to buy this product, but let's leave that for now. Let's first look at how we organize all this within Business Central. So here we go. Just a couple of basics up front. Let's open the standard item list and let's open that same product. And what I just wanted to show you here is that just as with the older nav solution where we didn't want to have any code merging, so we didn't want to interfere with any of your existing objects or pages, we kind of still do the same with the Business Central solution. Of course, we have much better ways of extending existing or system pages. So we do add a couple of fields now with an extension here to inform you about that this is a web item. So this is the standard page, but you do get a couple of buttons from us added to this standard item page saying create web item. That's what you need to initially make a web item out of this standard item. And of course, we've done that with this one already. So now we click open web item. So we try not to mess with your standard pages, and just as here with items, we do the same thing with customers, and everywhere where necessary, just one or two buttons, and then you'll be taken to another page where you find all the new functionalities. So we now arrived on our web item page, which is one of the many new pages you'll get when you install this extension. And for everyone who's familiar with Magento, if I quickly scroll down and just show you what's on this page, you could quite well see that this is really just Magento, but then in Business Central. Everything you find on the item Magento backend page, everything you need to organize your items is now brought into Business Central. And you can just manage it all from within here. So let's go over this one in a bit more detail. Up here, some important fields, the item type, and later on I'll show you some of the other item types. This is really a simple product, nothing fancy, but Magento also has very nice features to combine multiple products into one, which would then be called a configurable item or a grouped item. I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. This is a simple item, and this is one which we gave the attribute set lamp. And what that does, if we scroll down, it will do this. It will load all the attributes onto this item, which we are defined within the attribute set called lamp. I'll show you attribute sets in a minute as well. But yeah, attributes, one of the most important parts within Magento, and now with this extension here in your Business Central as well. This gives you everything you need to properly define an item. So the more effort you put into getting the right attributes organized per item and getting the right values in there, of course, makes a better front end and allows users to easily select the right product, that they don't have to guess whether this is the right product. Does it fit that holder? Does it have the correct energy label? Does it have the color or material I was looking for? The more effort you put into getting this organized properly, the easier and the better your shop will work. So back up here, some more fields to tell the system whether users should be able to see this item and how they should be able to find it. But then down here, you'll find inventory. And this one probably you want to enable for most of your items. What it does, once it is enabled, the extension will monitor everything related to your inventory. So whatever happens within your item ledger entry, whatever happens within your system, if someone just booked a purchase order or another sales order got created by another colleague, whatever happens, immediately we will flag in the background for recalculation. Recalculation will take place. And if needed, we immediately update the inventory number on the Magento side as well. Some nice additional features here, like back orders. Per item, we can say, should we accept back orders if inventory is below 0? Should we notify the customer that it is actually a back order, or no back orders at all? Or will we organize it by using a global setting? So then down here, descriptions, short description, longer description. That doesn't need too much explanation, I think. Just a full-blown rich text editor which you can use to put in as much text as needed. You can create things like bullet lists and highlight text and really everything you need to to set up a full description. Then down here, categories. For every item, you can add to as many categories as you want. And a little later, I'll show you category management, and then you'll see that from category perspective, you can add as many items as you want. Then down here, images. This one for now just has one image, but I have a little folder prepared here. Say if we want to add some more image, let's see, we received some new interesting pictures from our supplier, and we want to start to add some more visual information. This is what you do. Just drag an image onto the blue plus sign, the drop pad there, and whether you wanted to add one image or if you want to add 5 more, just drag and drop. They will automatically be scaled if necessary and uploaded to your Magento. Magento allows you to set different default images for every view within the system. So that's all brought back into Business Central as well. Just select the image you want to use as the base image and do the same thing for small and thumbnail images. Really nice, and all again to be managed here in BC. Then videos. You can add videos to your items. You don't drag them into here because we don't want you to upload videos into your database. That's a bit too much. You go in here, you go to videos, and you paste in YouTube links, and then they'll get added that way. Next, down here, we'll see our attributes again. We've looked at them already. And then down here, related items, cross-sell items, and upsell items. And these are 3 different but quite similar lists where you can connect item numbers to other item numbers. As we saw already when we took a quick look at our web page, we can use related items to add things like bulbs and whatever other accessories or related stuff to this lamp here. We have another list, cross-sell items. Cross-sell is what's being used during the checkout. So if you, in a later stage in the buying process, want to offer your customers something to look at, that could be a bulb again, but could be anything, of course. Use the cross-sell list. And then there's upsell items. We saw that one on our page as well. If you want to see if you can sell a product of a higher value, or for whatever other reason, you can use these lists as or quite flexible. It just depends on the label you put on top of them. Again, just connecting item numbers to item numbers in order to see if you can sell more products. And then down here, we have websites and store-specific properties. That's that multi-store mechanism again, where on a website level, we can just enable, disable, say, okay, include this product for that website. But then we can take it even further. And on a store-specific level, we could say add content for a specific store view. So whether it is because we want to organize our French or Italian translations, or we just want to put in different text for our B2C store as for our B2B store. For Magento, it doesn't make any difference. Just add store-specific content. You can start to override any of the fields we've just seen on the global item page here. And that way you can create multi-site, multi-store setup with different content per store. So that was everything there is to show here on the web item page. And let's go over some of the other things, because we've seen items, but we haven't seen categories yet. And here we go, category management directly within Business Central, of course. We have one root category item under which we can define a structure, but we can just as easily create a second website to root if we want to organize multiple category structures which we can use for our different stores. Adding categories, is really just as easy and as intuitive as you would have thought. Just click and add a new category and drag them around to get to the desired structure. So that was categories. Now on to the most important part within the system, the attributes and attribute sets. We've looked at it already. Let's open our lamp again. You see in this case, lamp is based on what's called the default. So we're not using any inheritance of our own here, but you could define attribute sets which are based on other attribute sets. That way you can create something like computer and then a new attribute set called laptop, where you just add the few more attributes which are needed for your laptop. But in this case, a lamp, and it has 4 category or 4 attribute groups: specifications, functional attributes, appearance. Within specifications, you'll find these things: what type is it, the number of lumen, what type of holder, the energy label. But within the appearance group, we have colors and material. And then we have another group additional in which we put a brand. And this is already quite a nice demonstration of how to organize an attribute set. And you can imagine if you have way more complex products, the better this will work for you, because you have a way to really properly structure your item data, structure it for you and your colleagues to work with it, but also a way to present it to the end user and on the web store front end. So that's our lamp attribute set. Let's close that one for now, and let's look at the attributes in some more detail. Let's take a quick look at what you'll get when you start to design a new one. You can give it a code, you can give it a nice front end label. But most important, what I wanted to show you is the different data types we have here. We can allow our users to input text, or we can force them to pick a yes, no value, or a Boolean value, of course. We can validate their input to be a decimal or a price or a date. And I guess the most important ones are these here, the drop-down values and multi-select. That's existing lists of values where your users just have to pick the right value. And that really helps you to improve your quality of data. If we close this one, and if we then open that lamp holder, for instance, that is a drop-down type attribute. And here you see our existing or predefined list of values. And you can immediately guess that it's quite helpful that your users don't have to think of this themselves. Should it be GU with a dash 10, or should there be a dot in there, or should it just be a 10? I guess we all know these rubbish web stores which present you with every possible value in this area. And then it's really up to you to figure out what you have to buy. And that's not what you want to offer your users. You want to give them a much more decent web store with just one value, one filter. If they're looking for a GU10 lamp, just click that filter, and these are your options. So down here, we've seen stores before, and here you can again use those stores to provide different labels for each attribute. So for instance, you could put in your Dutch translation, or maybe for your B2B store, you need a slightly different label than for your B2C store. All possible by using different store labels. And then down here, some interesting switches, like this one, the layered navigation. That's actually the filters we saw on the left in the web store. And this is where your Business Central user has full control over what should be done with these attributes. Should they be filters? Should they be, or should they appear in search? Or should end users be allowed to use them in an item compare, standard Magento feature? Or should they be visible at all? Because that's quite interesting as well. You can also create invisible attributes. to organize all kinds of things on your web front end, but not by immediately showing that attribute value, but using it like a Boolean value, say show this, show that, and then ask your web developer to make the web front end act upon that value. And for now, one more interesting feature is the ability to create a mapped attribute. So if we would say this is a mapped attribute, we could select a table we want to take a value from, tell which is the item number field to set up the relation, and then say, okay, pick a value from that field. And that way, if your customer has bespoke fields on their item page, or maybe a completely different ISV module which has interesting data which you want to get out there on the web, just do this. Just create mapped attributes, and the users here don't have to provide the data again, or there's no double data entry. Attribute values will just be taken from that source set of tables and fields, and they will just be taken along with the manually entered attribute values, all brought to Magento in the same way and ready to make use of those values over there. So let's close this. Let's close attributes. We've seen items, we've seen categories, we've seen attributes. Yeah, that's it in terms of PIM features or catalog management. Let's move on to the sales part. The last thing I want to show in the product information management area is the use of the different item types. If we go to content, items, here's that lamp which we looked at earlier, which is of type simple. It's just one item that comes on its own. But we also have this one here, our Pirelli P0. That's a car tire, and these usually come in many different widths, different diameters, but probably images and descriptions. Everything will be the same. It's just those other sizes have other product numbers. Here above that one, you see a couple of different product numbers, which all belong, or they actually are the same tire, but then in a different width. What you then do, you create one that sits on top, which you call or set to be a group type. That one you give images, you add a description, another description, and then you'll get a new tab here, which is called your grouped items. And there you just select item numbers that should be shown under this main product, under this grouped item. And in the end, what that does, if we go to our web store here and we go to tires, you see that we just have one Pirelli P0 in our system. It has a couple of images, it has a description, another description, it has some attributes here, but really all this information is exactly the same for all these items, or all these different widths we can select from. So yeah, this is what we probably want. We can just quickly enter details, say, okay, we need some of these, and we actually don't need that. We can click add to cart, which immediately adds all the selected quantities to our cart, and we can check out right away. Quite a convenient way of managing and publishing items which have a lot of common characteristics. And at the same time, by doing it like this, you're offering your buyers the best possible shopping experience, where they first select the right product, and then additionally they go for the exact size they were after. The type of screen we're looking at here is more common for a B2B store. Let's now jump back to Business Central first to show you another item type, one which is used more often in B2C stores. So let's close this one. Let's go for our dress here. And dress has item type configurable. Configurable works a bit of the same as a grouped item, but then it has a bit more configuration. You really have to tell which attributes are the ones which should be used within the configuration. So if we now scroll down, or first let's see that this one has an attribute set called dress. If we scroll down here, we see that it has a couple of attributes, colors, size, and those are marked as configurable, which means we don't have to put in a value at this level. But if we scroll up, we see that this item actually has variants. And if we look at this one over here, you see that this is of course also a dress, otherwise it wouldn't have the attributes we were looking for. And you can see this one has values. This is actually a red L size, and all the other ones have values as well. And because we mark these attributes as configurable attributes, if we now go to our web front end and dive into this category, here's our item, you will see that it's presented differently. This one actually has two drop downs where we can select red, gives us another image as well, because you can attach different images to different item variants. And here's our choices. It seems that we also have an XS and we have that L, which we just looked at. So really a different way of managing a set of items, or item variants in this case, publishing them as a single product online, but still offering your buyers the right options to really at the end come to the right selection and to the exact product they were looking for, a red L in this case. Now that we've come to this point and we've added our dress to our cart, that's a nice point to switch to showing you some of the sales processes. So let's leave this behind. Let's go back into Business Central. Let's close some of this and let's go to sales and customers. There's multiple ways of working with customers, and that usually also depends on the type of shop you're running. If you're running a B2B store, and just a B2B store, probably you have all the customers already in your system and you just want to start to send invites from within Business Central. And on the other side, if you're running a B2C store and you're constantly registering new customers, of course, you want to open up the registration page, and that's of course possible as well. What we do in that case is that once those new customers place their first order, they will be imported into Business Central. And of course, it's also possible to use combinations. So you could run multiple B2B stores, multiple B2C stores. You can allow registration also on your B2B stores, of course. That's really up to you and how you want to organize your new customer flow. For now, let's take a look at how things will work for B2B customers, or at least for customers which you are inviting from out of your Business Central. Could be B2C customers as well. And let's take a quick look at the original customer list, just to show you that it works kind of the same as with items. This is standard customer list, standard customer page. We don't add more than just this one, a little switch which indicates that this is a web customer, and that started like this. We clicked create web customer, and that in turn, same as with the items, takes you to a web customer page where you can do just a few more things. You can select the store for which you want to invite this customer. You could add a few more details. There's even an attribute system within the customer area as well. So you could set up attributes and add values here, which will then be taken to your Magento installation for you or your web developer to work with. But once you've done all that, you click on release. We've done that for this customer already. And that will actually create the account on the Magento side. So what we can now do is go back to our web front end. Let's take that email address, or here it is already, and we can sign in as that customer. And again, this is the B2B kind of flow. So we as a store owner just invited Mr. Robert here to make use of our web store. What he can do now is simply go through the checkout. You'll see here that if this customer has shipping addresses set up in BC, we will also sync those with Magento. And then it's up to you as a store owner to say, okay, I want my customers, or I want to allow them to put in new addresses, or they have to select one of the existing addresses. Then down here is shipping methods. In this case, we have absolutely nothing spectacular, but here you could have installed any carrier Magento extension. All the carriers have a Magento component. And if you want to use multiple carriers, we even have a solution which comes with our Shipit extension. The company who we developed that with, Transmart, they also have a Magento checkout extension or shipping extension. And that will give you the ability to even work with multiple carriers here in one screen. It offers you pickup points, some additional fancy features like that as well. So for now, we just click next. And here's payment methods. Again, we could have installed all kinds of WorldPay, PayPal, Adyen, whatever payment provider you're using. For now, we're just keeping it simple, and we've just only activated the standard check money order payment type. Let's place our order so we can move on with what I wanted to show you in Business Central. So here's our order. We got an order number. If this were to be a standalone system, you now would have to go into your Magento backend and ship and invoice your order over there. But of course, in our BC integrated environment, things work differently. So let's close customers, and we now go to staging orders, because that's how the whole thing is organized. We have a set of staging tables in which we first import all the Magento order data, make sure all the data is in, whether it's valid or not, and then from there on, we can further process and let them become real NAV or BC sales orders or quotes or whatever it is you're after. But as said, first, let's have our data into our staging table. In a production environment, you would run a job in the background which would import these orders like every minute or so, but now we can do it manually as well. And here we go. Here's that order we just placed with all the values which were available in Magento on this order now pulled into Business Central. Here's our Pirellis, here's our dress with the right variant code, and all the totals, subtotals, whatever tax numbers were available, all imported into Business Central. So scrolling back up, what we can now do is simply click Process Order, and that will create a sales order for us. That's a real NAV sales order, real BC sales order. And if we open that one, we can again see what that did. It added our products, our Pirellis, our dress, and it added the delivery costs onto a GL line, just as we set up earlier in the shipment configuration. So from here on, we don't do that much anymore, or the system doesn't add that much anymore. We will simply keep track of what's happening in the sales process. So if you're shipping, if you're invoicing, we will pick up, and depending on settings, we will send back to Magento that status update so that the buyer over there can also follow what's happening to this order, shipment, and invoice. But really, from here, it's up to you and up to Standard Business Central to process your orders. For now, this was it in terms of sales processes. Let's close these screens and let's look at some of the additional B2B features. And first thing we do there is to open our standard setup card. And once you've installed that additional B2B module, you'll get a new button here on the setup page, which actually opens the B2B. And here you can select for which document type you want to publish historical information. So if you just enable all of them, select the right reports you want to be rendered for the PDFs which you want to offer your customers. Once you've done that, the system will automatically, for every new account that gets created through Business Central, it will then signal that it has to make the historical sales data available as well. And down here is another switch for B2B pricing. And as soon as you enable that one, from that moment on, the system will also, for your existing customers or your known customers, where they have customer or group specific pricing and discounts, it will make all that available for use within Magento as well. So that's just the settings, but let me show you some of that. If we go back to this store, if we log out for a second, if we then go to our chairs category, you will see some of the famous Cronus products, our Berlin chair, for instance, and you'll see that it just has one price. But if we now go back to the sign-in page, log in as Robert again, you will immediately see that he has a whole set of tier prices and discounts. And this is really just the exact configuration as you have on this customer in Business Central. So with the B2B module active, with the B2B pricing component activated within that module, full support for customer-specific pricing and discounts. Another thing which I wanted to show you is if we go to his My account and if we open up something like Shipments, that's the result of what you've seen on that other setup page. All the historical shipments, so no matter when the account got created for this customer, whatever you have on that customer based on those settings will be made available for them to browse through and to review at any time they want, even including the original PDF document that came with that shipment at the moment you processed it. So that goes for shipments, but it also goes for orders, quotes, invoices, and credit memos. So this is what I wanted to show you today. There is still a lot more to see, and there's a lot more detail in many areas. And if any of you says, okay, show me more about this or tell me more about that, just contact us through sales@idin or use the chat box on our website, and we'll set up a specific team session to further dive into those things. Now back to you, Nicholas. See if we perhaps have received some questions which I can answer.
Yes, thanks a lot, Thijs, for that. We've had some questions come in. I'd like to check with you, see if we can get some answers. First of all, is it possible to run multiple web shops with the solution?
Definitely, you can have multiple stores within a single instance, and you can manage it all from within the same single Business Central instance as well. We've actually seen some of it already, but let's open our demo store backend here and use that login, because the multi-store mechanism, you'll find that right up here under all stores. And this is really what you do. You define websites, then stores, which is like groups, and then store views, which is really the actual store, the thing on which you're going to be looking at your products. You can really design as much as you want. And usually it works like that. Like in this case down here, we have a website added, which is called Specials. And in the end, that results here in a Christmas Superstore. So someone must have thought of something like that. So for Christmas, we want to set up a separate store. Can we do that? And usually it goes like this, that your web developer goes onto your Magento, creates new website, creates one or more new stores, creates the specific design for that store. You then go back in here into your Business Central environment. And what you do is say, okay, update my stores. It will import these new store codes. And from that moment on, you can simply start to enable items on that specific website or that specific store, and even provide or put in different values for certain product information fields, like different descriptions, different images, whatever it is you're after in terms of that new store. So yes, definitely a whole lot of capabilities of publishing multiple stores from out of one instance.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Second question I see here. What are the possibilities with regards to bespoke development Anything to share on that?
Yes, there's actually many ways of customizing your environment. The first thing to always look at is can we use attributes? Because a lot of questions customers ask, can you do this on an item? Can you show some extra care labels? Can you show a color picker if the item sits in this category? Or any of those small modifications on the front end can usually be set up by just creating the right attribute, like show color picker here. Really just an attribute, not visible on the storefront. So it's really just a piece of technical information that goes from Business Central to your Magento front end. And there you can ask your web developer to show that color picker for any item that has the show color picker set to true. And just as with items, we nowadays have customer attributes as well. And it's good to know that we already sent a whole list of standard customer attributes. Let's look at that. Yeah, let's go to this one here. And here you can see a new tab down here, the Commerce 365 tab. And you see by default, we're already sending all these Business Central additional customer properties or customer attributes to your Magento environment. They don't immediately do anything, but they're there for your web developer to build something. And then what I was showing you here, you can define additional attributes which you can add to customers to send additional information. Maybe you want to show a certain payment method if their balance is above this, or if they're past their limit, or you want to show some additional checkout features if they're an affiliate customer, or maybe you want to allow drop shipment for a certain type of customers. All can be accomplished by just setting up attributes. And then, of course, there is the ability to enhance your whole setup by using code. Let's quickly fire up Visual Studio Code because I believe, yes, there is my example already. At first, good to know that we're publishing a lot of events within the solution. So if you want to subscribe to the moment a staging order arrived in the system, or when a web item got created or a customer got created, before, after, or instead of, you can attach or add your own custom coding, and you can further enhance, enrich the way the application works through that way. And then, of course, you can see if you can just add data into our tables, but there you will probably bump into a lot of these non-accessible tables. And that's actually done on purpose, because we don't want you to study the whole data model which we've created within this solution. We thought it should be a lot simpler for you to customize things. So we just give you APIs. There's a set of code units which you can reference, which have functions like this, like set attribute value. And then you don't have to worry about how attributes are organized and whether there's additional tables involved to actually store these values for different stores and things like that. No. Just rest assured, use the functions that we're publishing through these APIs, which in the end make it a whole lot easier for you to work with our data.
Okay, great. Maybe one last one to close off. What would an implementation project look like for Commerce 365?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you something about implementations. There's no real golden standard here, but we mainly have two different approaches. If a customer database doesn't contain too much customizations, and if their Magento environment is the same, if they really just want to get the core integration up and running as soon as possible and nothing fancy, then we could see if we can fit them into that 40-hour fast track. We use a set of templates to get them implemented. And then even within those 40 hours, there is some budget for a couple of quick training sessions. And then within that 40 hours, the customer should be online, up and running, and know how to work with their system. But on the other side, we have the other types of projects where there are a lot of customizations in the BC environment or in the Magento system, or both. And maybe there's even a longer list of additional requirements which we have to work on. Then what we do is we normally run a scoping and discovery project first. A couple of days in which we will do a test installation. We will gather all requirements available. We will run a couple of workshops, and in the end, we will take all the information and every outcome of every discussion we had with everyone within the project group, and then we will come up with a final project plan, estimate, and budget, and then we'll start the real implementation project from there.
All right, Tess, thanks a lot. As I promised in the beginning, just a bit more information about our support system, both general item support and for the product. Our standard support is always available for partners, Dynamics partners, through our Freshdesk ticket system, and we handle these tickets free of charge. This, however, does mean that the partner will be acting as an intermediate. We won't be in direct contact with the end users. Now, for end users who are keen to establish a direct connection with IDEN, with their support issues, we offer an optional service level agreement. This agreement has as a benefit the tickets can be submitted directly by the end user, and they can even ring us through telephone if needed. Urgencies, business critical issues, we ensure a response time of under 4 hours. So those are the benefits of a service level agreement, which is purchased more often than not for Commerce 365 customers. Okay, next we will take a look at pricing. We've tried to keep these as simple as possible. For the standard edition, which allows users to run a maximum of 2 web shops, we'll be paying €320 a month, which is the end user pricing. The enterprise edition, which has a maximum of 8 shops, is set at €456 per month. The addition of a B2B module for, as stated earlier, customer-specific pricing and discount would be another €200 a month additionally. So these prices have been set, including any maintenance or enhancement fees for access to new versions, and the pricing already includes the fee for the Azure component, which is used for data synchronization. Next, pricing is not susceptible to any variable parameters, such as the number of users, for example. These are the prices per Business Central tenant or per voice ID. It's as simple as that. Now, we're nearing the end of the webinar, but let me just mention that we see more and more partners setting up a Business Central demo environment, which includes a number of ISV solutions. If you would like to include Commerce 365 into your demo environment, we'll be very happy to help. So if you want to show your customers a complete integration with Magento, just let us know. We'll be happy to help. Now, to close off the webinar, I just wanted to let you know next week we have Ship It 365 webinar scheduled. It's our solution that offers integration with as many carriers as you'd like directly from within Business Central. Allows you to create transport orders within BC and ship them within a few clicks. So no more need to log into any carrier portals or things like that. It can save you a lot of time, so feel free to join and register. You can register via iden.nl/webinars. And as a reminder, you can download your Commerce 365 app via AppSource. If you have some time left today, please do so. I wish you all a very good day. Thanks for attending, and see you later. Bye-bye.